Head of Sports and the Head of Culture expounds on the reason for the sport and creative industry's virtual open house. Minister of Public Health gives update on the current COVID-19 active cases. And Prime Minister of St. Martin says she is happy with the reopening of the border. Those are the headlines for Thursday, September the 17th, 2020. Good evening, everyone. This is SXM Daily News, and I am Valerie Van Putten. And as usual, we have a full newscast for you this evening, so let's get started. In our first story, Prime Minister of St. Martin, the Honorable Sylvia Jacobs, speaking to the Voice of St. Martin's news director, Stephen Cerillion, this morning on the reopening of the border, the Prime Minister said that she is happy that it has been reopened and she is planning on meeting with local representatives on the northern side.
I'm very happy that it has finally happened. We have been having the discussion at Government St. Martin with me as Prime Minister, doing my best to convince the Prefect of removing the checkpoints and sitting together and synchronizing measures so that we do not have to put our people through this. And so I'm happy that we're there. Ironically, I had a scheduled meeting today, initially with the collectivité, but the Prefect was also invited. However, she declined as her health head is not on the island. So she would like to have that meeting when that person is here, that representative from ARS, who's in Guadeloupe, and I believe that she will be here next week, Tuesday. So we're seeing if we can accommodate that next week. But today we have a meeting with our local representatives from the north side. And it was with one of the agendas was the border closures and what we can do, even though it is not within their authority to remove it, what measures are being taken and what we could do jointly to further move it along. So we're happy that that has been resolved. And actually, what she stated to them was that anything that happens would be then on their head. She does not take responsibility for that. But things have been happening. And if we do more to synchronize our measures and our people comply, we should be able to manage the spread of the virus. The virus isn't going anywhere for right now, and it will require vigilance and discipline on both sides of the island. And we have to unite in that now to ensure that we do not have an escalation of cases.
Taking into consideration the meeting that you're having with the collectivity as of Thursday, Prime Minister, there has been calls for the synchronization process to better realize in an effort to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Is that something that you will be discussing with your counterpart?
Yes, we'll be discussing it with our counterparts. Both the collectivity as well as the state representatives, as soon as she grants us that audience. The health professionals on both sides have been collaborating, but the measures are not always lining up. And it's very difficult to line up with measures that France can decide to change on you overnight. Over this whole COVID period, we've been doing our best to synchronize to avoid exactly what has happened. And we haven't been able to do that. Then there are the discrepancies and the reports. So on the agenda is border closures, synchronization of message measures, as well as, of course, the upcoming St. Martin Day.
And meanwhile, in news from French St. Martin, President Gibbs welcomes the end of border controls with St. Martin. In a press release issued by the president of the collectivité, Mr. Daniel Gibbs, on the end of the border controls with St. Martin, the president press release reads in part, after several weeks of discussions with the prefecture and the ARS, especially to work out the educational problems posed by the controls, and after having protested against the maintenance of these controls and the legitimate arguments and proposals for finding solutions to present to the highest authorities of the state, attesting to the urgent socio-economic need to reopen traffic between the north and the southern side of the island, and after the population took to the streets to support the challenge of these restrictions and make their voices heard with the support of elected officials from both parts of the island, we can only congratulate ourselves collectively. That is the unity that has resulted in the end of border controls and the return to free movement between the North and the South. It's a relief for all of us, stated the president of the collectivité. He continues that, however, the victory against COVID-19 is far from being won, and it is everyone's responsibility to act individually and collectively, respecting the barrier measures. However, if this responsibility falls to each one of us, awareness, communication, and control in health matters remain a duty of the state services, which have the competence and the human and financial resources. I cannot let the responsibilities of this mission rest on citizens alone, even if everyone can position themselves as actors in the fight against this epidemic. Despite the satisfaction from the people of St. Martin at having won their case, we can only wonder again about the way in which the state services today consider the local elected representatives of the Republic, and particularly those of the others. Our duty as local officials consists of alerting and advising the local representation of the state and the ministers on the need to recognize our specificities and to act to fight against the spread of COVID-19, which we strive to do with a commitment without flaw, while being, in addition, force of proposal. We expect from these same services a respect for local political representation, which aims to protect citizens and prevent demonstrations of discontent that should not take place. According to the statements of the prefect, the decision to free the borders was taken in response to the threat of public disorder expressed by members of an association. What a lack of consideration for the mobilization and commitment of the local political class. What a reduction for St. Martin and its population. But our priority today is to make our arguments heard and to establish an island-wide health protocol to protect the people of St. Martin. Today, I will travel to St. Martin, Dutch side, with my vice presidents as the invitation of Prime Minister Sylvia Jacobs to discuss possibilities for joint actions. The prefect was invited at my request. As I have been insisting for several months, it is on the scale of this small island that we must act to fight this virus in the long term, and we will put all of our energy to ensure that devices such as the St. John Joint Screening and Surveillance Center, St. Martin quickly sees the light of day. And still to come, Minister of Public Health gives update of the current COVID-19 active cases. We'll have the details to that story and much more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching SXM Daily News, and I'm Valerie Van Putten. And in news now out of Curaçao, owner of the former Mullet Bay Resort and current owner of the towers at Mullet Bay and the Ainia Group, Hushang Ansari, and attorney Richard Gibson are accusing former interim president of the Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin, CBCS, Jose Jardim, of acting in bad faith and laid critical accusations against him in the ongoing ENIA saga. In a leaked document from the trusted and well-informed source, Gibson and Ansari have directed a letter to Jardim in response to the latter's request for a Zoom meeting to possibly resolve the ENIA issue on Wednesday, September the 16th. If the intention towards a resolution is serious, the letter reads that Gibson and Ansari are both interested. However, it is hard for us to understand your real reasons for private meetings and Zoom calls at the same time as you take action against certain U.S. shareholders and certain management members in connection with legitimate expenditures dating back as far as 11 years ago, against which extraordinary profits by the very same U.S. shareholders for the privately owned entity. Nothing to do with an agreement between this entity and ENIA 11 even made it possible for ENIA 11 to meet its obligations to its policyholders on a timely basis at all times. Additionally, Ansari and Gibson reminded Jardim that he continues to repeat publicly the same false accusations, claiming that U.S. shareholders of ENIA had moved a total of $400 million US from the company to bank accounts of their own. This was categorically denied by U.S. at the meeting on February the 1st, 2020 in Florida with Jardim. But we added that for this amount to be transferred out of ENIA's bank accounts, it would be necessary for two managing directors of ENIA with signature authority to have sent wire transfer instructions, the letter to Jardim reads. Ansari and Gibson further reminded Jardim that they asked him to present documentation to substantiate his claims and that he, Jardim, made the commitment to deliver such evidence to Gibson within 1 week from that date of February the 1st. Jardim has since never produced this evidence despite an additional 1 week being granted to do such. In the many months that have passed, Richard Gibson has received nothing from you and no explanation. Very surprisingly, you, Jardim, once again repeated this accusation to the media in Curaçao shortly after the Zoom call you requested on August 21st, 2020. Jardim is being told in the letter from Gibson and Ansari that he, Jardim, is on record during the emergency rule proceedings and subsequently the media for having said that ENIA was financially sound and that the restructuring would take place about 6 months and receive the court's approval of your budget in the amount of 500,000 guilders. Today, over 2 years later, millions of dollars have been squandered from the hard-earned money made by shareholders in the United States, not a penny of which should have been wasted because of the fact that the restructuring has already been verbally agreed upon with you before you moved unexpectedly to take all the companies regulated and privately owned by U.S. citizens without even a courtesy notice to us shareholders to be present at the court. The letter reads. And in more news, Minister of Public Health, Richard Pandeflek, gave an update of the COVID-19 cases on the island. The minister also announced the reopening of all nightlife businesses on the island, but they can only open until 12 a.m. Then the announcement was made at the Council of Ministers' weekly press briefing yesterday.
St. Martin is currently experiencing a second wave of COVID-19 infections. In the first wave of the epidemic, 22 cases were hospitalized of the 509 confirmed COVID-19 cases. 468 have since recovered. So far, in the second wave, 4 persons have succumbed to the COVID-19 virus. After a spike in the cases around mid-August, when around 20 new cases were reported each day, the numbers of cases seems to have dropped to up and around 10 per day, with the cases dropping daily. This might be a result of the closure of nightlife venues that was initiated on August 15, 2020. To date, 19 clusters have been identified in the first week of the second wave, cluster occurring primarily in the nightlife settings. In the last few weeks, there have been clusters in places of work in various sectors, including retail, healthcare, hospitality, utility services, and government. It is estimated that these clusters account for around a third of all COVID-19 infections in St. Martin. Other infections occur in the household setting or have no known sources. As of Wednesday, 14 September 2020, CPS has registered a total of 549 confirmed COVID-19 cases. Of all confirmed cases, 276, 50% are male, and 273, about 50% are female. The majority, 79% of cases, is between 20 and 60 years of age, with a large number of cases, about 23%, being between 31 and 40 years of age. In the light of the data, CPS can clearly report a reduced demand for testing, which may be due to reduced community-wide transmission. Therefore, it remains possible that the closure of nightlife has had an impact on the COVID-19 transmission across the community. Considering this, we recommend that when nightlife reopens, public health guidelines on the wearing of masks, social distancing, and frequent washing of hands and cleaning of surface is strictly followed. I will now read a message of the Minister of TIAT concerning the same about the opening. All businesses are allowed to open until midnight as of 16th of September 2020, as long as the business owners and the public are reminded that the mitigation measures to reduce the spread of virus are still in place, such as mask wearing, social distancing, and proper hand sanitizations and sanitizing the area. It is imperative that we acknowledge that the restrictions placed on businesses and high-risk activity over the last 30 days resulted in decrease of the active cases. Controls will continue to ensure that businesses close at the required time. As we prepare for the upcoming high season, we will continue to remind the public that safety is paramount. The realization that we have to coexist with COVID-19 is ever more present, and this can only be accomplished through the responsible behavior of us all. That is the message of Minister of TIAT.
And in more news out of Curaçao, the government of Curaçao have reported that 18 new cases have been detected on September the 17th, 2020. 2 of those cases are imported, meaning 1 crew member from a cruise ship and 1 resident on one of the repatriation flights. Both are in quarantine. 11 of these cases are linked to known ones, and the source of the other 5 are not known as yet. 6 people have already recovered, and there are 2 in the hospital, the Curaçao Medical Center. Yesterday, the government informed that it was a choir that practiced together, but after more investigation from the Department of Epidemiology, it was decided to identify the group as a musical group and not a choir. Now, turning to our weather forecast for September the 17th, 2020. At 11 a.m. this morning, Hurricane Teddy was upgraded to a major hurricane. It was located about 650 miles east of St. Martin. Based on the projected path, Teddy does not pose a direct threat to the island. Tropical Storm Vicky has been downgraded to a tropical depression located in the eastern Atlantic. This system does not pose a threat to St. Martin either. However, environmental conditions surrounding an area of low pressure located over the eastern tropical Atlantic remains conducive for development. A tropical depression is likely to form over the next few days. The Meteorological Department of St. Martin will continue to monitor these systems and update the public accordingly. So, the outlook through Saturday midday: partly cloudy with isolated showers possible. Now let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, member of the SAPP queries why did the Council of Ministers not protest and stop the execution of the cost-cutting measures in workers' remuneration? We'll have the details to that story and more with SXM Daily News Report.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
Welcome back, viewers. And as we continue now with more news for you at this time, speaking at the St. Martin Anti-Poverty Platform weekly press briefing earlier today, member of the SAPP, the St. Martin Anti-Poverty Platform, Claire Elshot, commented on the border reopening. Mrs. Elshot queried if the Council of Ministers are in solidarity with the people for their livelihood affected, why did the Council of Ministers not protest and stop the execution of the cost-cutting measures in workers' remuneration? And she expounded further.
In the Council of Ministers press conference of yesterday, we could hear why the Prime Minister and other ministers of the Council of Ministers joined the peaceful manifestation at the border. The Prime Minister said that they were in solidarity with the people as the border blockade decision of the prefect is affecting the livelihood of the people. If the Council of Ministers are in solidarity with the people for their livelihood affected, why the Council of Ministers did not protest and stop the execution of the cost-cutting measures in workers' remuneration? As co-coordinator of the Anti-Poverty Platform and the Consumers Coalitions, we have supported the manifestation of the workers since the end of May and in June against the regressive conditions of the Dutch state government imposed on the workers and their households in St. Martin. During these months, we have not seen any solidarity of the ministers in the Council of Ministers with the workers and their households. The Council of Ministers does not want to meet to reach to a consensus with the Windward Island Chamber of Labor Unions to respect the workers' rights and the human rights of the people on the southern side, as well as from workers and households from the northern side who work here for their livelihood on the southern side. Well, the Prime Minister yesterday approached me at the border to request that we have a sit-down. At least that's a point in the right direction. But the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance, they continue to collaborate with the Dutch government to violate workers' rights and human rights of the people by implementing regressive cost-cutting measures on the workers and their family. The argument that the elected and appointed officials took a cut in their remuneration illustrates the lack of respect for their own workers' rights and human rights in the Kingdom of the Netherlands. The Minister of Fiat, until now, has not announced measures to stop the ever-increasing prices in St. Martin and how to bring down the cost of living in St. Martin. She constantly appealed on us to cooperate to flatten the curve while we are opening our economy. Why we do not hear her speaking on how she is flattening the curve of price hikes and price gouging in St. Martin.
And still to come, Head of Sports and Head of Culture expounds on the reason for the Sport and Creative Industries virtual open house. We'll have the details to that story when SXM Daily News returns. Welcome back, viewers. And as we end this edition of SXM Daily News for you this evening, Head of the Sports Department, Janelle Richardson, and Head of the Culture Department, Clara Reyes, speaking at the Sport and Creative Industries Virtual Open House, which was held on Monday last, September the 14th. The two department heads expounded on the reason for the open house, and we will also hear from two of the stakeholders that participated.
Hi, and welcome to this year's edition of the Sport and Creative Industries Open House. My name is Janelle Richardson, and I am the Department Head of Sport.
And my name is Clara Reyes. I am the Department Head of Culture.
So this year is the 6th annual Sport and Creative Industries Open House. It first started back in 2015 with the Sport Open House.
And then in 2018, the Department of Culture joined, and we became the Sport and Creative Industry Open House.
So, why sport? Sport is life, in my opinion. Without sport, movement, exercise, there will be no life.
And this pandemic, sad to say, this current situation that we're in has taught us how necessary it all is. You've seen the amount of people that have been walking, exercising, finding a way to de-stress. So it is necessary to have both sports and the creative industries to balance out our life rhythm. So listen in, there's a lot more to come.
So we decided to continue with this year's Creative Industries Open House. In light of what's going on, we have made it virtual. It is very important for us that we continue to highlight all the various sport organizations that exist on St. Martin.
And we want to dispel once and for all of this myth that there's nothing to do on St. Martin.
Hi, my name is Joanne Schet. I was born in Amsterdam, live in St. Martin since, let's say, 6 years now. And I've picked up sewing since then. And I basically started up a business named Lilo as a fashion designer. Lilo started as a hobby, actually. I wanted to basically look different when I dress up, but you know, the situation on the island, usually everything is the same. So I just took some basic lessons and it just blew up from there. I would describe my clothing style as bold. The brighter the colors, the better. The more noticeable, the better. And of course, a tad fashionable. A little bit of couture style. So this is Cam. Cam came to me because he wanted something for an event. And I was basically inspired by choosing this color fabric for him because of his skin tone. I knew this would pop up. This is Ghanaian kente fabric. And as you can see, it's just a two-piece vest and a pants. All of his measurements were taken to make this custom made to his.
Hi everyone, I'm Stacey Ann Taylor from Stacey Ann Taylor Studio. My organization caters to you. Yes, people from all walks of life, all ages, races, and sexes. What we do is makeup artistry, creative concept developing, modeling agency, and image consultancy. Stacey Ann Taylor Studio, the modeling agency, we cater to people from all walks of life, all ages, races, and sexes. The image consultancy, if you're in the workforce or you want to go out to a special occasion and you need that advice, you don't have to be of any age in particular to contact me.
And SXM Daily News will be featuring other stakeholders that participated in the Sport and Creative Industries Open House during our newscast in the coming days. And with that, viewers, brings us to the end of this edition of SXM Daily News for you for this evening. I am Valerie Van Putten, thanking you so much for joining me this evening. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again tomorrow.